Four Midwest Guys presents Captain Marvel Review.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Four Midwest Guys presents Captain Marvel Review. Oh my God, we've got three of us together. I don't know how we got our schedules to
Doesn't
collide.
happen very often.
Yeah, apparently you didn't get the black shirt memo, though.
Apparently not. I am. As long as it's not Red at Kings Island, I'll be just fine. So, anyway, with that said, here I am, your host, B. Willie, and with me today is Mr. Brian Eckebar.
Hey, what's up, what's up?
And the Dirty Jay-Z.
I'm back! Hey!
Welcome back, John. And you lost your arms there into the graphic. Ooh. Ooh, you're feeling her up. Look at that.
No, I'm trying to...
Doesn't quite work, did it?
I'm trying to get my rogue on.
Your rogue on. All right, then. Enough with the stupid guy jokes. We're here to review Captain Marvel. And as always, with our movie reviews, we will give you a brief non-spoiler section. So it's just real quick, guys, in the non-spoiler section of this. Is it worth seeing, Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if you see it in the theater or on your TV,
Okay.
but it's worth seeing.
It's definitely worth seeing. Okay. John, what do you think?
It's a good time. Yeah, I'd say it's a fun one to go check out.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely fun, and I'd say it's probably worth a view in the theater just for the special effects. I mean,
For anyone that still has like a second run theater still around, because our Midwest second run theater is sadly no more.
no more will make them now be a Duke Power Station.
Or something.
Yeah. So
Jerks.
yeah, it is. But yeah, it's definitely worth the view. What did you guys think about the CGI effects? I'll start off. I think it was a solid 8.5 for me, not a 9. What did you think, Brian?
I'll go 7.
7? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
it was nothing earth-shattering or stuff we haven't seen in other Marvel movies, but yeah, it's stayed right on par.
Right on par. Okay. What did you think, John?
Yeah, you got $200 million to blow. Looked pretty good for $200 million. I'll say about an 8.
An
A
8?
solid 8.
Okay, that's fair. Action scale, I'll give it a good 8. John, what do you think?
7 to 8's fair.
7, 8. Okay.
I'll
Sorry.
when we get into spoilers later, I'll say one sequence definitely will put it more towards the 8 category for me.
Bumps it up north to 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Brian?
6, 7,
6 or 7? Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
no Fury Road.
It's no Fury Road.
No Fury Road. Well, that's true.
Of course, we can't all be.
That's true. I just rated it higher, way higher.
Of course, we can't be a 2-hour action scene though.
Of course, if you're bringing up Fury Road, it does have a better plot because they do just go do more than go down a road and come back. I'm just saying. Anyway,
More than that.
There's more than that. They insert water.
the debate continues.
Never ends.
All right. Speaking of story and plot, John, what'd you think?
It was good. It was serviceable. Nice popcorn flick. It's about 6 to 7.
6 to 7. Yeah. Brian? What'd you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, it was right in the middle for me.
Yeah.
It's no 3 billboards.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It is not 3 billboards.
It was. I mean, it was a story that had to be told so that she could be in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. So it works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For anybody keeping track, these are like older episodes, so definitely go through our old history to see if we've reviewed these in the past.
That's true. Very true.
Callbacks.
Little inside jokes. Yeah, as far as story plot for me, I liked it for the tie-in, so I'll bump it up to an 8. I would have said 7, but the tie-ins really help with the rest of the movies, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the spoiler section. All right, guys. So, Brian, what do you think? Best Marvel movie yet? Worst Marvel movie yet? Or somewhere in the middle?
No, not the best. No, not the worst. But it's probably in my bottom pack.
You in the lower tier
Yeah.
of them, of the Marvel movies?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, John?
No, it's not near the worst for me. It's not near the best. I'd say middle's about fair.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm going to agree with that. I agree with both.
It's better
yours.
than 2 of the 3 Thor movies. I'll say that.
I liked Ragnarok though. I really did.
That's why I said 2 of
Two
the
of the
3.
three.
I like the first one. And
I like the
third
first one and the third one.
I didn't like
yeah.
the second one.
So-
That's definitely near the bottom.
I think
Yeah.
the second one's
Second
definitely
one's-
the bottom of the MCU.
Second one's
list.
just bad.
It's naked
Evil trolls and
Yeah.
space trolls. And,
Stellan Skarsgård.
That too. All right. For me, it's right in the middle. I'll agree with both you guys. It's definitely not the best. It's definitely not the worst. But it's right in the middle, and it serves its purpose, and it's kind of a neat view to go back in time since we've been kind of going forward this whole time. So this is kind of like almost a prequel. I'll break the word and use it. So I think it works.
I think timeline wise, it's
Middle of
like
the road,
the second one, like as it goes Captain America, First Avengers, like timeline wise, the first
Right.
one. And I think this is the second. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think you're right so far.
Because we got like aspects of Guardians of the Galaxy taking place maybe before it, but the rest of the movie's later. So that's
There's no
doesn't quite
80s. X-Men went to the 80s, but Marvel has not gone to the 80s or anything.
yeah.
I know
No,
of.
we're not going to talk about Apocalypse.
Well, Days of Future Past was good, but
Days of Future Past was great,
anyway, but this is not an X-Men podcast. This is a Captain Marvel podcast.
but it's a Marvel podcast.
It is Marvel, and they all are under the Disney branch again.
They are. Yes,
So,
Mickey's Thanos glove is almost complete.
Almost complete.
The McFinity gauntlet.
I just got kicked out of Disneyland. All right, so that will conclude our non-spoiler section. So from this point on, it is a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, pause us, go watch the movie, and come back. So from here on out, you've been warned. Spoiler alert, I won't play my sound effect or anything cool.
Oh my god, that's a first for me.
We're just going to call it spoiler. Hey, I like my stuff. Anyway. So, look, guys, let's talk about... let's talk with Jude Law. Let's talk about him.
I was
What were you going to say?
going to make my little joke about how it was very bold for the final third act to just basically be Thanos' colonoscopy as a layout for Ant-Man.
Boom. All right, so that's a lot of purple mess. Anyway. Oh, so many jokes, not enough time. All right, so let's.
So Jude Law now.
Speaking of Jude Law and scrotum, the rectal tracts. No, I'm kidding. I actually like Jude Law in this.
Like Jude Law.
He always surprises me. I never think he's going to be that good in anything he does, and then he turns around and surprises me a little bit. So
then you should probably think he's going to be very good.
that I
based on
should,
that,
yeah, I guess. But I don't know. When I hear his name, I'm just kind of like, yeah.
Watching Talented Mr. Ripley must have been fun with you.
I think it's the what is it, that band we used to have? He looks like that one guy. To me, the lead singer in the night. Speaking of 90s music and 90s theme.
He looks like a lead singer from 90s band.
Yeah, I can't remember. It'll come to me.
I don't know, maybe it's on
Bush.
the soundtrack to this?
Bush.
Gavin Rosdale?
Yeah, he looks like Gavin Rosdale to me, so maybe that's why I have that preconception. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I thought Jude Law's performance was pretty well done, and I thought he played a pretty good villain. You know, even though he was kind of the good guy, he's like a friend.
Not quite the villain until the end.
Right, spoiler alert, but still, yeah, I thought he did overall. What do you guys think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he played his role. I mean, like you said, you didn't find out he was the villain until the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, you kind of have an inkling for it, part of the way through, and you're like, something's not right.
Well,
But
even when he goes completely bad, it's like you can still tell that he cares about her, or there's some sort of attraction or
there's a connection.
connection
Just,
there.
like a mentor thing is what I kind of saw there.
A little bit.
Well, because like that always started out like in the beginning is like, you have to hold back, you have to not use your powers in order to beat me. He's like, and then I like how they tied that in the end, that she just basically blasts the shit out of him and just goes, I don't have to prove anything to you.
Yeah, which was pretty funny actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It is kind of a mentor thing. But there's kind of an attraction there too. I think it's kind of that weird kind of thing. I don't know, master and apprentice kind of sort of thing. But what do you think of overall, John?
He's good. I mean, I always like Jude Law. I always get excited when I hear, a new actor coming in to the MCU, and because I think like, what is it? They pretty much have how much of Hollywood in their Rolodex now with this?
Yeah,
I mean,
and they have very few misfires. That's the thing that I just have a hard time getting over.
They know how to like they know how to get the Oscar nominees and winners. Like literally, Brie Larson was given this role right after she won her Oscar for Room. in like
Yeah.
2016.
Right. I mean, I know they got the Disney mantle and they got the power of the mouse.
Of course they do.
But
Yeah, they've got money to spare.
right. But I don't know. They always seem to nail the narrative of whatever the movie they're going for. And like I said, they've had so many non-misses. It's
They take
for
their
the
time,
number of
yeah.
movies that they've done. It's incredible, really.
There is a certain amount of care that they put into it. I think that's what shines through with all the MCU films.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, and I don't know if that's Feige or not, or if that's somebody underneath Feige.
definitely
or,
Feige. You
yeah.
know, if he's the producer for all this, he's had a clear vision for him from like Iron Man on. So.
Let's talk about the AI, the real, I guess, main
Jude
villain.
Law was great in AI.
Not that AI. I like the fact that they made the AI kind of the main villain in a way. It was an interesting twist, especially using the likeness of Marvel, the same character as the good guy, the bad guy kind of thing. What do you think of all that, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was an interesting twist because we didn't really see the AI in Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, which is interesting.
We really just saw like Ronan being
the bad guy.
bad guy, and he was basically like he was in charge of the Kree.
Right, you thought he was the leader,
And then in this one, we find out there's an AI,
and that he reports
and
to.
that he reports to them. It's like, oh.
Yeah, he's not the big bad. He's not the...
Which makes Guardians of the Galaxy even worse.
Well, I don't know that...
Like, he's not even the bad guy. Like, he's not even the main bad guy.
So you find out he's just like Milton from Office Space.
yeah.
But it does
He's like, have you seen my Gabler?
have you seen my giant hammer?
It does beg a question. Oh, man. I can't keep my serious face on. Thinking of the stapler.
You got us both back, so there's no way you're gonna have a serious face.
My stapler, man. I burned it down. I swear to God. All right, so it does beg a question. It does bring up an interesting point. Is by the time we get to Guardians of the Galaxy, then has Ronan gone rogue from the AI because he's kind of going on his own power quest for one of the Power Stones?
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's,
true.
I mean, it could be, or it could be that he just got rid of the AI,
yeah. By that point.
or because we don't see at the very end when
Captain America.
when Captain Marvel breaks out of the AI.
Did she bust the?
Did she bust the AI?
AI. It's possible.
I mean, it definitely gives the motivations for Ronan, but at this point in the timeline, he's dead, so
Yeah.
who cares?
And he says he's going to come back for. Of course, he's dead by the time if they ever want to do a sequel to, which we'll get into, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get into
later.
the MCU and how people stay dead in comics later.
All right, so let's talk about the whole Kree and Skrull war and that whole twist. You know, you start off one way, and I know I was telling we were talking about this beforehand, and when I was like, I keep saying about the Kree, and I'm like, is this another species? Because in every
Why does that name sound so
yeah,
familiar?
because in in the TV series they're the bad guys, and in Guardians of the Galaxy they're the bad guys, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And wait a minute, Jude Law's not blue, so maybe it's not the Kree. Maybe I'm thinking of a different species. You know, I'm rolling through all this stuff in my head.
And then you see the black guy with the gray beard.
Gray beard, you're
wait,
like, wait.
Jaimin Hansu, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, you're like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
I know he was the bad guy in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's the one that fought Star-Lord.
I mean, we see him right in the beginning. Yeah, and why is it every time I do a GIF search and I want to put a who with a question mark, he never pops up? I must be having like the wrong GIFs on there.
Yeah.
It's like, so we know he's in there.
Right.
And I just want to say this real quick. Like, speaking of the 90s, if you were to tell us in the 90s we would be having this much of a discussion between two factions called Kree and Skrull right now,
all right.
we would pants ourselves.
What's all right, guys? What do you think's better, Kree or Skrull? You talking about the bands? Oh. Anyway,
For those listening, I just made a empty-headed 90s teenager face.
but I really enjoyed this whole twist. I really like Ben Mendelsohn. Thank you, God.
His performance was that was what sold me.
It was really good because every movie he's in, Rogue One, every other major movie he's in, I can't think of the other ones. He always plays the bad guy. He's always the villain. Mm-hmm. So when you start off seeing him in that, you're like, oh, okay, that's definitely the bad guys. I must have my switches mixed up on the Kree thing.
But you give him a kid and a sad backstory,
Story,
and
and-
now
he really ran with that, though. I thought he was
did great.
excellent.
You get to see like a whole other side of his acting range here.
Yeah, Brian, what'd you think of Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I thought, again, everybody played their part well, and I thought he played his role, and he thought he was the bad guy.
And then he turns out to be like a comedian. He's almost a comic relief in some sense. I mean, he's still badass in his own, but Yeah, I thought it was really well done. All right, so let's talk about Brie.
Captain Marvel herself.
Captain Marvel herself. I don't think. Yeah, it's hard to say, but I don't think they could have picked anybody better. I thought she
No.
took on the mantle. She took on the character. She presented the character. She presented herself as a rogue warrior, as the little bit of a tomboy, a little bit of an ass kicker, fearless, in the whole back and forth between trying not to be human and trying to be Kree, but the whole time she's just really being human the whole time, and she's trying to fight that at the beginning, and how she evolves into being that person again and discovering herself again. I thought she captured that really, really well. What'd you think, John?
Brie Larson's a fantastic actress. Like, I remember her being on the radar for like her first movie, Short Term 12, back in like 2012. And yeah, then she got in Room. I remember seeing that. I thought, man, she's really good in this movie. And then immediately they announced her as Captain Marvel. I'm like, everything I know about her, that makes sense, because she's Brie Larson, like the person that you see on like interviews and social media. She's definitely someone who stands up for what she believes in. Like when in the Oscars, when she had to announce Best Actor like the year after she won, and it went to Casey Affleck, she was like, you can visibly see her not applauding because she knew all this stuff about him.
Right.
So like she's definitely someone that stands up for her beliefs. So she's got a lot of the traits of the ass-kicking rebellious hero to her. So
yeah, I don't know. What'd you think, Brian?
I think anybody would have done
What she did.
what she did.
Okay.
But that's the good part about being for your good actresses or actors is they can step in any role and do it. I think that's what she did. She took what was given to her and made it her own. I thought it was fine. I think that anybody else probably would have done the same thing, and we've been having the same conversation saying, "Oh, they did a great job,"
Right.
because I think it was all based on the way it was written. I didn't think there was several spots where I didn't feel like she delivered the line the best way possible. It felt kind of like
Do you think it felt
downplayed,
forced?
like downplayed a little.
Okay.
But I still
Overall.
like,
overall, I still,
we're in the spoiler section. Which lines?
well, I can't off the top of my head. I don't know which lines. I've only seen it.
There were a
once,
couple
but-
scenes you
but
got
there was
that
just a
feeling.
couple scenes where I just felt like she was like, I felt like she was reading a cue card more so than
Oh, okay.
being in the movie. You know what I mean? Like it kind of felt that way for me.
Oh, I've been, trust me, I've been on set where I've seen people reading off of cue cards.
Yeah, it just kind of felt that way, and I was like, okay, like it was just like,
It's like porn acting. Fuck me so hard. So hard. Okay, that's all I got.
The one thing I could tell you is interesting, that when a person doesn't quite know their lines,
Yeah.
they'll improv a lot more.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite get that from her. But, she, like I said, check her out in Room, check her out in Short Term 12. She's very, very good. She's got a great range to her.
I thought she did really well, and it might have maybe it was a promo stunt, but when they first cast her, the first thing she put a picture on Twitter and she's laying down there. She's
got her
reading
pajamas and her
Captain.
comics,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's reading a Captain Marvel comic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that stuck out in my mind, but I thought maybe she took a little extra care with.
And
the
yeah,
character,
I
but-
like that too, because it showed that she's not just, oh, hey, I got a paycheck. It's, hey, I want to read this character. I want to read more about
Right.
it,
And again, I could just be falling for a
yeah,
nice
because
Disney promo stunt. But
somebody walked over with it. Hey, hold this up for a minute. Okay. Thank you. And they walked away.
It would have been worse
my
if they
PR
had her.
person said.
It would have been worse if they had her holding Avengers issue 200.
Or, it was,
If anybody ever heard
or it was
about
upside down.
Or upside down.
Yeah.
We're doing one of these. All right. So let's go into favorite scene. John, what was your favorite scene?
Okay, well, we were talking about it earlier with the action scale. Mm-hmm. When she's in space, like the very ending fight scene with her just like fist fighting the spaceships and just beating the shit, just like
Yeah.
punching them one
Blasting
at a
'em.
time. Like it's just all her. It's not her in a ship. It's just her flying through space. It's like, I don't think I've ever seen this before, and this is kind of badass. So I was like, I got to give it up for that scene.
Okay. Brian, what do you think?
I was gonna say that's probably the same one.
Same one.
Yeah.
Badass scene. I'm actually gonna go with the whole reveal of the Flurkin. It just was funny the first time. They did it one too many times, I think, but the first time when they because everybody's like, well, that thing's dangerous, Keep
Like,
that damn
all
thing
the
away from
aliens
me.
are-
They put the mask in, put a thing on it,
Put the muzzle on it.
and then if they finally use it, it just springs out to this big giant
like
octopus?
kraken thing. Yeah,
or it's a Rathtar. It's a Rathtar in its mouth.
I just like how Fury's just kind of holding up. Get him, It's like, okay. So,
And the funny thing is thanks to my Wikipedia search about what a Flurkin was, the person that actually did discover what that was another alien. It was Rocket Raccoon. Because when they took, because she's had Goose for like a lot of issues, and then he just always goes on adventures or anything with her. It was just kind of like a thing. But then it wasn't. I think it's funny. Like just recently is when he said that thing's kind of dangerous, and then they've incorporated that into the movie. So that was kind of neat.
yeah.
Which I'm glad. As far as Captain Marvel goes, I'll say this: I'm glad they're incorporating a lot of the newer history as opposed to the older history with her.
Well, that's the nice thing, and it's like other genres like Star Wars. They have all this stuff they could pick from, and they should. And I think that's what Marvel's doing. They're cherry picking from
They're doing it very
50-year catalog of stories.
And thankfully, they know that the stuff for Captain Marvel was best in its recent years. 'Cause
Well, probably
there's some questionable stuff in her past. There's just a bunch of.
Well, that that's that's the things that change.
But I gotta say, like second, as we were talking about favorite scenes, like my close second probably comes to when she breaks free of the AI and does like all the different montages of like her falling down and getting back up. I thought that was kind of a cool little moment there.
Yeah, one of the scenes that didn't work for me, and because I didn't put this in notes, but the one, and we kind of talked about it, you brought it up, John, was the whole No Doubt scene. It was it was a little mistimed. It didn't quite hit where I thought it would.
It was a weird tone.
I expected a little bit more comedy with that song for some reason. I didn't expect a full-on action sequence with.
I mean,
I'm just a girl. It doesn't quite.
I can see them juxtaposing it, like it being like a contrast to hey I'm just a girl, and then just Captain
Watch her
Marvel just
kick
beating the
everybody's
shit
head,
out of everyone, one hand. I could see that, but it's just I don't know. Maybe it was just hearing Gwen Stefani again. I think like, damn it, I thought our hella was it holla back girl days are over.
Holla back day girl. What'd you think, Brian? What'd you think of that scene overall? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, well, a bunch of those scenes were just
a little off time.
Yeah.
I mean, there were some definite scenes where the tones didn't seem to match, and I think that's kind of what kept it from like me wanting to say, "Hey, this is a lot better."
Right.
Because I mean, I'm still excited for it. I still had fun. I still want to take my daughter to see it.
Sure. I took mine to see it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just there's just some of it that's just like it doesn't quite resonate in like every single scene, which is it's fine. But
it doesn't have it
doesn't have to.
Not everything's gonna work, but
it didn't have me just going, really? There's never one scene that did that.
Yeah, because you brought that up when we were doing the production meeting, and I was just like, the more I was thinking about it, I've been rolling over mine, like, that really didn't hit real well. That was kind of one of those.
I think one of the shows we were watching earlier might be a nice illustration of that. It was like, really?
Speaking of that, kind of transitions into the what worked, what didn't. Let's talk about Nick Fury. Nick Fury in the '90s. Did you like it, Brian?
Parts of it were okay.
Yeah.
He still had like some of his humor parts were good.
Yeah.
But like you were talking.
Yeah. I had a hard time with it. I really did.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like they let Sam. It's like they took the muzzle off Sam Jackson and said, "Be yourself." I was like, it's too much. Too much. That's not Fury.
It didn't feel like Fury.
The only thing he wasn't doing was cussing, but otherwise it was just Sam Jackson being Sam Jackson.
It's funny because like in the '90s, Sam Jackson was a lot more of a badass than that. But it wasn't until like recent years, like we got more of the tone down, the cool, the Frozone,
the cool Sam.
Yeah, like that's what we've been getting lately. It's like he settled down, had a couple kids. Now he's the funny dad with the minivan,
right.
which is funny because like now Nick Fury in the '90s is that Sam Jackson, who I swear he's going to sell us a Capital One at any moment.
Exactly right. I was like, man, this isn't Fury. God, this is driving me nuts.
That kind of works because if he's a young idealistic agent, he's gonna kind of be like that. He's not quite grizzled. He hasn't seen the shit. He hasn't really like.
I get it, and I know where they're going with it, and they want to build up the mantle of Fury based off of this, the starting point, and that's everybody has to start somewhere, and you never like seeing your what you think of your hero. It was kind of like the whole Star Wars thing, Anakin Skywalker thing. He's a whiny kid when he starts out, and then he becomes Darth Vader someday. But it's that same kind of feeling. It's like, man, I didn't need to know that.
Well, it's like the old line is like when we find out our parents are basically just slightly older kids.
Right. Right. I don't know. Like I was saying, it's like it took just a little bit of air out of the balloon. I don't know. What'd you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I just like I said. Some of his humor hit.
Yeah.
But like other parts was like he seems kind of scared. Like it's like it was like, wait, that's Nick Fury, the one that's just.
And Nick Fury loving on a cat.
Yeah.
What?
What? When he was like,
I love on the cat.
Well, I love on the cat too, but Nick Fury doesn't love on cats. What's going on?
Exactly.
Hey, maybe
He's
you
definitely
find
a dog
out.
guy.
Maybe you find out Nick Fury's a cat person.
Apparently
There we
he
go.
is.
He's a flirkin. He's a flirkin person.
Flirkin maybe okay, but
Maybe that's what we've just been hearing him wrong for all these years. He's not been saying motherfucker. He's been saying mother flirkin.
Yeah.
And speaking mother flirkin. Mother flirkins on this mother flirkin plane. All right, so speaking of earlier versions, let's talk about Coulson. Brian, I know you had some thoughts on.
Yeah, I really liked Coulson. As you could see that he does follow the rules, but he goes with his gut, which is what they showed in the TV show in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
that he definitely he'll go outside the book if he knows what he's doing is right.
it's the right call.
And I thought that was really cool to see that. Like
Rookie Coulson is the same.
And he had his moments where he was like, I'm still here at the Blockbuster. Where are you guys?
Am I supposed to stay here, sir?
Yeah, I mean I thought it was really good. I thought it was well placed.
Yeah.
Unlike the Nick Fury.
Nick Fury thing, yeah. What did you think, John? Did you like Coulson?
I thought he was fine. Yeah, it's good to see Coulson back again. I don't get a chance to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I rarely get a chance to watch a lot of the genre TV shows.
Yeah.
Because, don't have a whole lot more time. As you guys see, I mostly just binge Mystery Science Theater.
That's obvious.
Yeah. But no, I thought he was fine. He did fine. It was good seeing him again. And yeah, like as we see Nick Fury as the kind of the fresh agent, you see Coulson as a rookie, and yeah, it's just it all makes sense,
That's cool. All right, so let's dive into the hero concept. Was it too much? Was it too much maybe on the female, the whole was it strong female character side, or was it non-existent? What do you think, John?
I thought everything was a good balance, because that's the thing is they didn't make an issue out of her gender. They just made her a character and just based it around that. That's honestly what makes an amazing female action hero. It's what made Ripley a badass action hero. It's what made Sarah Connor couldn't help but be a mother, but it didn't matter. She was still a badass.
Right.
So, and that's what I think makes female action heroes amazing, is they don't just say, oh, I'm a girl, but I still do this. It's like they don't draw attention to their gender about it. So,
Right. That's a good point.
That's exactly what this movie did, and they did it very well. They do bring up, hey, she is a woman, but oh well. It's like that's not the center focus of the film.
I thought it was also non-existent. I thought it was balanced. There were hints of it, but it wasn't in your face. It wasn't over the top, and I didn't really even notice it. The only thing, they broke one of the rules I have when he goes to gender changing as a character, and the only reason I know this is I'm not a comic book guy. I'm an MCU fan. Everything I know about Marvel, minus maybe Spider-Man, is what they put in these movies. But researching for the podcast, I found out that Marvel, the original Captain Marvel, was a guy, and then they changed it to a female for this. So that is kind of breaking one of my rules, because I feel like if you change the character, you're taking away from the original character. That you're taking an injustice to the original character. If you want to create a new character, that's fine, which is kind of like what they did in the comics where they created Brie Larson, but still, or not Brie Larson, but Carol Danvers. Sorry. But so other than that, they broke that one rule, but I didn't know that. And again, I'm not a comic book fan. Had I been a comic book fan, it might have bothered me a little bit going in. But again, it wasn't over the top, and it certainly wasn't in your face. I didn't think so. What do you think, Brian?
The movie itself, I don't think did anything over the top, like girl power, like, you know what I mean? Like, didn't throw anything, like you said, didn't throw anything in their face.
Yeah.
There was none of that. I think majority of the social justice
The
stuff,
outrage and everything.
it all came from critics, acclaiming it before it even came out, because it was a female thing. And they're like, oh, it's gonna be great because it's showing how strong females are and everything else, and all this and that, and like it just felt pushed, like it was like
Ahead of time.
yeah, and like instead of, hey, this movie is
Great.
a good movie,
Yeah.
you know, and it has
It just happens to have,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And it's
critics don't really give anything out until they have actually
Well,
are
the-
allowed to release anything. It was more of just, if anything, like the responses online of audience. Like if you see on Rotten Tomatoes, and frankly, they're smart for doing it by shutting down the review section from people that clearly have not seen the movie, because if they look at it, it's like, we haven't released it. There's no way you can downvote something
Well,
that's not out.
I think what Brian's saying, he maybe used the word critics, but I think when he's talking about the media and the,
Yeah,
the
like,
push,
I'm not saying
the
actual
PR push ahead of
critics.
it.
Yeah, it was definitely, and it was coming from everywhere.
Well,
It
I
wasn't
mean-
just specific, just like New York Times critic or whatever. It was just all across the board with, this is great. It's showing women power and everything else. And then Brie Larson came out with her, nobody on my press bracket's going to be a white male.
That I will
You know,
correct, because that was not
and
that
it
was
just-
not from this. That was actually from a something she did for A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh, okay, because it definitely
'Cause-
came out for this. That's what they
Well,
said
no,
online.
well, that's what
Yeah,
happens.
I read the same thing,
People
actually.
saying online, like if you go back and look at it, they'll find video and they'll find audio of it. Yeah, it existed
Yeah.
a whole year before this movie came out, when people were talking to her about, because she was trying to talk about diversity and criticism, and she said, okay, A Wrinkle in Time is about a young African American female. It's like, frankly, whatever a 40-year-old white guy says about it, fine, I can hear it from a bunch of other people. I'd rather hear about what it meant to other people. So that's what she said, and somehow, and again, this is why I always take what I read online with a grain of salt, is because they actually, like, they brought up her old thing and try to twist it around for this. I was like, no, guys, this is really false outrage.
Well, and again, it's there. It is out there. There is a PR push, and there is two sides to every story. But I know where Brian's coming from. and
Well,
I
there
guess
are
what
also
I'm
the
trying to
people
say.
that try to say they were physically assaulted outside the opening weekend of Black Panther.
Yes, there are, and they are being appropriately dealt with.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. All right. So moving on. Let's talk about the one of the things I really liked was the tie-ins to the other movies. The Avengers on her what's her call sign? Her call sign was Avenger.
sign, yeah.
He ends up using that in the extra credit scene as the Avengers Initiative. He uses that because he sees that in the picture. That's just one example. We had the Tesseract.
We had Milton.
We had what?
We had Milton with his hammer.
Yes, we had Milton with the hammer, aka Ronan, which was cool to see once they revealed the Kree were indeed bad guys. I was like, aha, there it is, and there's the connection, and it's it, and that's again we were talking about earlier how I was like, whoa, he reports to the AI at least in this point in the timeline. So, a lot of tie-ins, and it kind of reveals, and it kind of makes you want to know more. He kind of drug me into the story, and now I kind of want to know a little bit more about backstory between the Kree and the Skrull because of these little tie-ins and whatnot. Let's talk about the Tesseract for a minute. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I saw as soon as they showed the Tesseract on the TV on the screen, I was like, oh shit. And I literally said that out loud. I said, oh shit. Like, what the hell? Because the last time we saw it, and I had to really think hard, and I'm like, God, that was okay. Captain America, First Avenger.
Yeah, because we sat here, we had like a whole like we had to remember the ending of First Avenger to try to place the Tesseract.
And the way I remember it was completely different than you did, because I was like, I'm pretty sure that went down on the plane with Captain America, but you said it. Yeah, I think Brian, you said it came out of the plane, and John, you were kind of agreeing with him.
Yeah, John had mentioned that it burned through the hole in the bottom of the plane when right after Red Skull got taken up.
Okay,
and
yeah.
It fell to the ground and then fell through the plane.
So
and
into the
fell
plane,
out
into the
after-
ocean.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's right.
Because I mean, and then the biggest thing we were trying to figure out was what happened to it after then. It's like, oh, was the Tesseract near Captain America when they went down? Like, oh wait, no. There was a whole scene in which there was a submarine that Tony Stark was looking for, and
Yeah, Tony Stark's dad. Yeah.
so there was like this, okay, so he had it in the 40s or 50s or something like that.
So how does
there's-
it? Yeah. So how did it get from
So
there?
we got 40 years of a gap,
Right.
or 30, or maybe even 20 years to where Marvel finds it and starts
Which
experimenting with
is
it.
really
And
weird
there's
because
this-
it was with Shield.
yeah,
Yeah.
It was with the original parts of Shield. And
Well,
then,
they no, it was in a no. Well, yes, yes,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right. But in that timeline, I keep going back to the churches,
Yeah,
which
no,
is
it was with
way
the
back.
original part of the Shield, but then somehow makes it into the Air Force as a power source with Marvel.
Well,
yeah.
Shield.
It's that whole jumping. Of
Well, it goes
Tony
from-
Stark's dad getting it to
Yeah, it go-
Marvel experimenting with it. It's like, whoa, okay, we skipped a few steps here, people.
Oh yeah, we definitely did because you're right. We go from Tony Stark's dad to Project Pegasus under Marvel, and then it goes from Marvel to Shield
Yeah.
somehow.
Well, I think we know how it gets there.
Well,
like when
but
we
it
talk
was,
about
but,
the end.
but with Tony Stark, it was Tony Stark with the beginning of Shield.
Not only that, but
Right?
isn't there a scene where they open up the box and you see the Tesseract? They tease that before we even see Captain America. Isn't that? Doesn't that show? Isn't that a
I thought they-
post-credit scene?
I thought that they
Because it's in a box and they open it up and there it is.
Yes, you're
And
right.
that's how
I thought they-
Shield gets it.
I
Yeah.
thought they got both of them. Like I thought it was, we found this here. We found Captain America because it was like there was a search area.
Because that was one of the questions I had. Why didn't Marvel find Captain America then? But obviously there
Well,
were two
actually,
separate
what
places.
it was an end credit scene from Thor. Now that I think about it, because it's when they're handing it to somebody, and then one of the agents sees it, and you see in a reflection that it's Loki looking at it, going, "Oh, Tesseract."
Yeah,
And then it
he's
cuts to the
he's like in
Avengers.
that different dimension, but
Yeah.
he sees they open up the box and it's the Tesseract.
So we need to figure out how it got from
Project Pegasus
Project Pegasus to that box.
to there. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of like jumps in between. The question I had was, is the Tesseract actually like in the comics the source?
it's the
of,
Power Stone.
Is I mean, no, but is it the source of Captain Marvel's powers?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Is it?
Yes, and
Because-
that's gonna hold off on that. We're gonna get to that to the very end of the podcast.
Okay.
But yes. To answer your question, yes. So okay, so
Because the most I know from Captain Marvel was like the first research I did before the movie was before that knowing what I knew about Rogue, and when I saw the death battle match between Captain Marvel and Android 18.
Android 18.
Yeah. Well, because both of them are known for like
Dragon
drawing
Ball
in
Z
large,
here.
drawing in large amounts of power,
Power,
and being
yeah.
able to disperse it. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about. Let's move on from the Tesseract for the time being. Time out on that, and let's the other tie-ins. I think we already talked about this. The Korath, the Punisher, that was the black guy with the, and we talked about that tie-in. The Avengers call sign, but the other one was the Proton. So Photon.
Yeah.
I keep saying Proton. Sorry.
I even like updated it.
My bad.
And her brother Jimmy Neutron.
Neutron. Where's the electron at?
Jimmy Neutron.
But yeah, so Photon apparently, and I went and looked up stuff. You looked up some stuff, John. I looked up a
I
video
did
on
not
YouTube.
look up anything.
Brian didn't do jack shit, and
I just talked about the movie that I saw.
so-
You got an incomplete on your
Yeah,
homework.
I did not get on the Google or go on the line.
That's
That's-
right.
that's right. But
Yeah, I
according
spent like 30 minutes on Wikipedia to make myself sound smarter.
worst podcast ever. But yeah. So yeah, we did a little research, and it turns out that the little girl, at least in the comics, Rambo's daughter, because they kept going back to her and saying, "I'm going to do this when I get older. I'm going to build ships. I'm going to shine." Apparently,
She
John-
does.
She
yeah.
does.
She becomes
inherits-
Photon. She becomes the leader of the Avengers at some point.
Yeah, she inherits, I guess, some of Captain Marvel's power somehow, some way, some shape, some form. We don't know.
She's like one of the young.
And I know there's
Avengers at
comic book
first.
fans screaming at us right now, going, "You stupid son of a bitch! That's not how it happened."
Let us
She
know.
gets
in
it from her jacket. Duh.
It's Rogue's jacket now.
So
I love that meme going around where it's like the old lady. It's like you see her, you see the old lady, and then you just see the thing of her punching the old lady in the middle line. Is like, I can't wait till you meet Rogue.
But yeah, so she becomes Photon, and they used and in Rambo's, her call sign was Photon.
Photon, yeah.
So
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
there's a lot of really cool tie-ins and references there, and but one of the other things I think, Brian, you want to talk about this, especially the Kree tech in the suit. When she's changing, she says, "I can't wear the Kree colors anymore," and she starts pushing on her wrist computer.
Yeah,
and,
so it just kind of like
or arm computer.
So it just kind of struck me as odd that she's like, I can't do these colors anymore, and she like opens up her little thing and she hits a button and then goes, "Here, change me," and like the girl just all of a sudden magically just starts moving her fingers and like they changed colors, and then
Yeah.
they're like no, and then they changed to the neon one, which was a throwback to one of the earliest issues of Captain Marvel. They wanted to
Yeah.
throw it in there.
You know, at least they didn't put the giant yellow lightning bolt across her.
Black Lightning.
Yeah.
The black suit with
Yeah.
the yellow lightning bolt across.
And then they eventually come to the colors that everybody knows as Captain Marvel, because
Right.
everybody is like, why is she green? Oh my god! Like when the
Yeah,
sneak peeks were
pretty
coming out, they're
yeah.
like, everybody's like, why is she wearing green? Oh, they're gonna change it in post, and like
Change it in post.
like
I'll change you in post.
like, and that's not what it ended up being. But it just kind of struck me as like, why would a little girl
Yeah.
know how to change it? And then you brought up, well, maybe it was just simply one of those
color wheels.
color wheel type
Like you
things where
play on
she
a
just
computer.
played on the just taking colors. But it just seemed like a bit of a stretch to me. Like I was like,
It was.
I'm gonna bring back my old joke there, where I would love like just some smartass out there right now. If when you get a hold of a movie, just insert like the Predator sound effects when his thing's about to go off.
yeah,
Beep, beep.
It's like that was not the right button there.
yeah.
Sorry.
You are one ugly mother.
And it just blows up and then end credits.
You are one ugly mother flirting.
Flirkin, mother flirkin. All right.
Still a better Predator movie than the last one.
And I'm a sucker for music, and obviously I like some. We've already had one example where the music didn't work, and there were other cases where it did. But I did like the feel. I did like being taken back to the '90s. That's my glory days, my high school days, my grunge days, my flannel days.
Speaking of 90s and throwback, the video store person in me took one look at that wall and I about had a fucking heart attack on that theater.
What?
Because I was
Oh.
like, how the hell are you putting family films next to action films, next to horror films, and they're not even in alphabetical order?
Yeah, because it was recognizable without actually.
Exactly.
It
They
was
just put like all the boxes
Yeah,
there to
'cause
say VHS.
I don't know. I was like, huh.
I'm sitting there going,
That's
that movie's
weird.
not
Yeah.
even out yet.
That's a weird one. I love this Field of Dreams, and it's this and this, and it's like, oh, okay, I recognize all those box covers from
yeah.
the VHS. Is like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get the irony. She's picking up the right stuff because,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's an
that was cool.
astronaut
That
picking
was
up the
very cool.
books. Like, that was kind of cool. But she puts it down, and, like, Hook is, like, the shelf below. Like,
Yeah,
who alphabetized this?
yeah.
Worst
Hook-
90s
Hook,
reference ever.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and what were some of the other ones? Like I was
Yeah,
like,
it was like,
okay.
it was like Bipolar Day in Blockbuster.
Well,
Yeah.
honestly, guys, they probably had a hard time finding.
It was always
Come
like,
on, I mean,
here, these
your
are
last
vintage-
Marvel movie won for set design. Come on!
It was pretty funny. Although what I
The
didn't
set dresser just
what I
didn't
didn't
give
care.
a shit.
The other thing I didn't really like was the she walks up to the security guard or whatever and goes, "Where can I get communication stuff or whatever?"
Yeah.
And then he points to Radio Shack,
Shack, yeah.
Because Radio Shack.
but it didn't show her going into Radio Shack and getting stuff.
Yeah, which
it
would be
just
cool.
yes.
Do you want your Johnny 5 Short Circuit 2 montage
Yes!
of her, like, soldering
I
everything?
did. Like I really wanted to walk into the Radio Shack
Well,
and
there's
see
your
like
soundtrack moment.
like see all the different like because back in the day when we used to rig our surround sound system with speaker wire,
Yeah, we
I
spent
want to know
many-
the full capability of my S video output.
yeah
Hey, if I can push a direct TV signal
through speaker
wire,
like
we can do anything.
Yeah, I mean, like it was fun, like doing that kind of stuff. And you walk in, you have the conversation. You're like, okay, I need a male adapter and a female adapter. I need S. I need a I need the three-way splitter to send it. It was like that was like the cool stuff to walk into. I would have much rather seen that than the misalphabetized blockbuster video
Well,
covers.
to be fair, I think they paced that fine. That was just like a background theme that threw me off. I think if they actually had a moment of her like just going through the shelf individually and finding all this stuff, I'd be like, did we just really watch somebody's shopping list for about 3
Oh,
minutes?
well. Yeah, but for us, for me and Brian, it would have been like, oh.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what
That was my story. I would like, here's my paycheck, here's my money.
Then that's what deleted scenes are for.
It's like no, this puts out a wireless signal. Shut up.
No, shut the fuck up. Are you kidding me?
A wireless signal.
Wireless. Okay, yeah. So the wireless signal in the '90s was really a big thing.
That was
Yeah.
a huge
You
thing.
could not get that at Radio Shack because it was all about the wires there.
And let me tell you, how
it
many
came-
times I had to try to find a high shelf to put the transmitter on.
He's like, no, you have to have this pyramid here,
And this
And it connects to the other pyramid.
This pyramid
here.
fierce to this pyramid, so the signal goes bing bang A B C D and then
Yeah.
X Y Z and boom.
So for anybody tuning in right now, we are literally showing off our age and
Yeah.
showing off
Actually,
Our
I
goodness.
tell you what, I wish we actually
We're
had
little trolls. They're like,
I wish we had the schematics written on our notebook paper of how to connect the wires to make the sound work and what we needed the splitters for.
That's
We-
what Ethan Hawke's dreams and
'Cause-
explorers were about.
Because we had all this kind of stuff. It was so great.
but boys, look what it's led us to. Look around.
Heck
see?
yeah.
See?
Heck
we,
yeah.
we've graduated.
I want to kick my own ass from the 90s.
All right, back to the,
Back to what worked
Just,
and what
the
didn't
90s
work.
just
Yeah.
depressed me
back to the
again.
movie tie-ins.
Tie-ins.
Tie-ins and
Tie-ins.
stuff.
Actually, this is actually probably more of what worked, didn't work. Did anybody else? I know you guys probably liked it. I think you even said you liked it. I did not like the cat scratching his eye, and that's what takes out his eye.
You know what?
You know, you right at the beginning, he gets a cut right here, and you're like, "Oh, that's it. That's gonna do it." No, it's a fucking cat scratch. Out of all the things,
Well, yeah, because they kept playing with it. It was like, oh, he's got hit in the face. That's good. Isn't it? No, that wasn't it. Oh, he just got no, that's not it. And then at the very close to the end, and it's like, whoosh, and he's like, that'll be fine. It's just a cat scratch.
and it keeps getting bigger.
And the guy, and then
Sproul's
Mendelsohn's just like,
no.
but you know what? Honestly,
I did not
that,
like it. I was
That,
like,
made, that made the most sense to me because, again, like I said, of any of us guys, if we were to get a scar, something visible, like, we want to make the backstory for it as badass as possible. You know, we're gonna make it the most epic thing you've ever heard. We are not gonna tell him the truth that it was a cat. You know, that
know.
is honestly the truth. Knowing Nick Fury,
Unless you're one of our
that's
friends, and then you're like, so I shut my finger into Saturn. That's where I got my.
Oh, poor Bert. She's not here to defend himself.
the unspoken of Midwest guy.
He's like the fifth Beatle. He really is.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
So we miss him. We wish he was
We
here.
do miss him. We do miss him. We miss him waiting in line, and we miss his trains and
Yeah, his trains and his lines
and his Darth Jar Jar Abrams and yeah. But you are Miss Birch. You are. All right.
Everything is mixed. Before going in, all the reviews are mixed of everything.
All right. Let's talk about the end credit scenes. Are they worth staying for? I say a hell yes. What do you guys say?
No.
Not even
half
a
and
little
half,
bit.
half and
Okay,
half, 'cause
okay.
we did have
Yeah,
a good discussion
Yeah,
about
so
that.
we said they needed to be reversed. Like, so the first one, the mid one that you first see needed to
The
be
cat.
the cat throwing up the Tesseract. And then the end one should have
that's
been
where we get the Tesseract.
Yeah, should have been the tie-in to Endgame.
Which, again, to answer your question, that's how S.H.I.E.L.D. gets the Tesseract, is
Because
the cat throwing it
throw
up right there on the desk.
on his desk. But okay. Yeah,
But,
you're right.
but the
But that's a middle, like you said, that's a mid-credit scene.
that's not the
joke.
final. Like, so like when we waited for the whole time all the way to the end, and you see the desk, you're like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And then the cat comes up and goes and just throws it up like, and then it ends. You're like, really? That's what we waited the whole time for? Like, it needed to be reversed.
Well,
So that
because, like,
so that it
the middle-
ties into Endgame.
Because the middle scene you saw was a scene from Endgame where, you know, they're sending the signal out. Oh, let's try it again, and she shows up, and it's this big moment. You're like, yes, what's gonna happen? And we're like, something bigger. It's
Yes.
what my cat just did last night.
Yeah.
Here's what I think they were going for. They were going for the laugh. I found it funny.
I mean, it was definitely funny. I'll say
But-
that.
But I think they were going for that because I don't know about you guys, but from the minute so you come off of the end of Captain Marvel, you're feeling kind of high, and then they go to the end credit scene, and all of a sudden you see 3.2, and the damn counter keeps going up and up, and missing, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm right back to being depressed at the end of Infinity War. So I think that's why they put the cat at the end as a little up, you know, little
Possibly, I can
lift
see
me
that.
back up because I got depressed pretty quick. I was like, fuck, here we are
Well,
again.
there was several people in the theater when I went and saw it, and like, we waited for this. That was
I
the
can see, I can
response.
understand that.
And then you got somebody in the
You know what?
back.
Fine. If that's the response, then I
Yeah.
like it more now.
Yeah, the
because
guy-
fuck those guys.
There was a guy. There was a guy in the back. There was a guy in the back who sat in the luxury suites or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, fuck that guy
And-
too.
and
If you didn't like.
yeah. He was like, I give it a 5.
Really?
And it was so funny.
Was it about the scene or the movie?
The movie.
Okay.
It was so funny, and I was like, you know, you could just tell he was one of those guys.
Sure it wasn't Birch?
Yeah.
Was it Bershey?
Yeah.
Meh. Meh. It gets a solid meh. My highest meh yet.
Yeah.
It was a mixed review.
But yeah, I have seen it on Fire Stick first,
Right.
And then I saw it in the theater
theater.
because I was like, well, I want to see it in the theater because I want to see the special effects and everything else and see if there's a difference. And there was not. For me, it wasn't anyway.
Okay.
Nothing like just stood out like, wow, I'm so glad I went and saw this in the theater.
I was,
as opposed to,
But
but the waiting around for so I even had to wait even longer for the end credit scenes because I had to wait through the movie twice
yeah,
to see the end credit scenes, and I was like, okay, yeah, that was good. You know, like
yeah.
she showed up. All right, cool,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. And then wait till I'm like, really?
I just thought.
You know, for that matter alone, I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna bump that up a little higher. I like
Yeah.
that because it made everyone go, really?
Yeah, I was like, really?
It's like, ha! You wanted more.
Yeah.
No.
I was like, yeah, that was no.
That would actually be something I'd do if I made a movie.
Here,
Give me
Be
$200 million. Give me everybody's expectations.
be sure to
I'm
stay
gonna have
tuned
the
for the
cat
end
throw up
credits.
at you.
Yeah. No, what it is it's a dog shitting on a glass mirror. Like, the fuck are you talking about?
Wow, where do you
the-
spend your nights?
Yeah, it's the end credit scene.
You know what it's gonna be? It's gonna be a glass table, an overhead view. And
Oh,
all of a sudden,
no.
all you see is the cat just laying down on it.
No.
And just laying down.
No, it'll be a cup and two girls.
Not that far. It's just a cat on a glass table. You freak.
Two pups in a cup.
Two pups in a.
Oh my!
All right. We're it's a slippery
There's
slope.
a reason
and,
you guys don't get a budget.
All right. Okay, we're gonna go to quick fire questions. And
All right, good.
I believe these are gonna be so quick fire. I only put 3 on there, so
Okay.
that gives you some idea. So
Waiting for it.
here we go. We're gonna go back to the Tesseract for a minute. First question.
What?
This involves the Tesseract. Trust me.
It does?
Yes. So Captain Marvel's powers versus Thanos. What impact will she have overall in Endgame? And John and Brian, will let you guys go first, and then I've got my dissertation.
Let me break out my PowerPoint here for this quick fire discussion.
Well, you can see from her eyes.
Well,
that
now,
she-
if you go into the history back here, let me pull up my volumes of history.
I have my dissertation ready, so go ahead,
Okay.
fellas.
You go first, then I'll go second, you go third.
Okay.
All I know is in the comics, Captain Marvel is known for being stronger than Thanos, so she actually can fist fight him to where he looks weaker. So
And I believe that. So, okay. All right.
Okay, so I believe that's probably in the comics. However, she was powered by one of the Infinity Stones, and he has all the Infinity Stones. So I think she will be more powerful than a bunch of the Avengers would have been. But I do not think that it won't be like a she can beat him by himself kind of thing. It's got to be she's part of the team, because I'm just like,
well, she'll be like the quarterback, and everybody else is just like the side.
yeah, it was just one of those like because I thought about it too, because I was like, it's like if she got her powers from this engine, before we knew it was going to be a Tesseract, she got it from this engine. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so this engine could have been so powerful that it's going to be Thanos, and they're like, it's the power from the Tesseract, and you're like, whoa,
Yes.
wait a minute,
Right.
what?
Well, the other thing too is her ability is that, like I was mentioning earlier, she absorbs everything that's thrown out at her. So
Because
she
wasn't Loki's, what was Loki's scepter?
That was the Soul Stone, or not the Soul Stone,
No, it
the
was,
Hearts, not the Heartstone. I don't know what the fuck it was. It's the one that ends up in Vision.
The Mind Stone?
Mind Stone.
Mind Stone, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so his was the Mind Stone, and that really didn't do shit either.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like as
It
far
was
as
there
powers,
for the snap.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, but it's like, but he's gonna have all the.
right. And that's that's where my point is. So, okay, so Captain Marvel is powered from the
One of the stones.
warp core reactor light speed engine, which is from, and it originally gets its power from the Tesseract. So even if the engine amplifies that power, she is still only 1/5 as powerful as Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet on. That's the key right there. By himself, before he got his hands on any of the Infinity Stones, yes, that's why she's not in the first movie, because she would have kicked his ass.
So essentially, we're going by Sauron logic here.
Yes, we are. Because
But the power of the gauntlet could not be undone.
well, if you've got 6 Infinity Stones and her power, even if it's amplified to 2 Infinity Stone level, he's still got 4 more Infinity Stones worth of power than she does.
Yeah, speaking of Death Battle, one thing I will bring up is they've proven that even with the Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos still isn't as powerful as Darkseid.
Yeah, because it only works in his universe. And
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. so
So
that's
who knows? Maybe that could be the secret of going to the Ant-Man or what was it? What was the Ant-Man and Wasp dimension that they
The quantum realm.
the quantum realm? Maybe that's the secret, is pulling him into the quantum realm negates his powers.
It could be. That may be one way they do it. But and then the other thing you got to think of, if she got her powers from the Infinity Stone, from the Power Stone, there's nothing to say that Thanos can't take them back with the same stone. It could go
We'll
two
see.
ways. I don't know. But
We haven't seen
there's-
him really use it as a sponge yet.
So we don't know which way it's going to go. Is she gonna? Do we want her to kick his ass? Absolutely, I want her to kick his ass because he's the most hated villain in a long time because of the way they played up the movie. They did a great job, but I don't think she's not the key that a lot of people are like. Oh, this is it. She's the one. She's the whole reason that no.
So when we review Endgame, it turns out she was the key. Do we get to bring that up?
then yeah, I'll eat my hat. But
But you break a Star Wars toy.
no, never sacrilege. Never.
It's like, I will push one over.
Oh God!
That's as
onto
far
a-
as you get.
Onto a pillow.
Even then, he'll still
I will accidentally drop it this far.
he will treat it like Thanos treated Gamora.
All right.
Quick fire discussion.
Okay. Quick fire number 2. Not so quick fire. When Marvel retrieves the Tesseract from the flying wing, Captain. We kind of talked about this already. Captain America goes down over the Arctic. Why doesn't she save him?
She didn't know.
She apparently. We've also come to the conclusion, I think, here that he's in 2 different spots. That he's in one spot and
Yep.
the Tesseract was in another.
Right, but she didn't retrieve it. I thought it was
Because
Tony.
we
we
discovered
discovered
Tony
Tony
Stark's
Stark's dad
Yeah,
retrieved
it was
it.
Tony Stark. So she just
So-
somehow got it from.
Tony Stark's
So the
dad.
question is now evolved: how does she get it from Tony Stark's dad?
That we need an answer about, Marvel.
Yeah,
Maybe we would have found that out on Agent Carter,
Agent Carter. Well, yeah,
but they
Again,
canceled
another
after
team.
season 2.
that was a pretty good show.
Yeah, I thought it was
It was
too.
a good fill-in show anyway, mid-season show.
Yeah.
All right, last quick fire question: will there be a Captain Marvel 2?
Yes.
Brian?
How is it not a yes? Like it's,
Yeah.
like every Marvel movie has gotten a sequel or announced.
I would be
You
more
don't see her
surpri-
dying in Endgame?
No.
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 Well,
Okay.
okay. So even if she dies in Endgame,
Yeah.
we can still do what she did between the time she took the scrolls
Oh.
and the time she came back from.
But Lightspeed is relevant, so that may only be like a week. But you could do a movie on it.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you
Who
could
knows?
and you could put your fight on the Kree homeworld, or you could do all that kind of stuff inside that time frame, and maybe that's why. Maybe when we see
Well, it takes her a while to get back.
when we see Ronan, and they're kind of like on that like floating half planet rock thing.
yeah.
Like maybe the reason why we see that is because they're just done with that fight with.
Ronan, and that's why Ronan's going to Thanos
Yeah.
for help. It's possible. Could be done.
At this point, I'd be more surprised if the MCU did not make a sequel to anything they have.
Yeah.
That would actually be something like, oh wow, you guys just did this as a one and done. Good for you. all.
Although I will say one thing, they have gotten so big and so good. The only thing that can kill the MCU is the MCU. So, I don't know.
I don't know. I think the only thing that can kill the MCU over time actually is time. It's just everybody just saying, we've had these for so long now.
But they're really paying off. I mean, look at what where
Right.
we're at right now.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
we're at the pinnacle of one big giant story arc at the
Right, but here's the other
or
thing:
conclusion, I should say.
if at the end of Endgame we lose Captain America, Iron Man,
Yeah.
Thor, and we're gonna get Black Widow single movie, but we don't know when it's gonna be based.
Oh,
but,
Hulk's gone too. I heard
Yeah,
Never
yeah.
Follows not returning after this.
yeah, so like if we're losing all these people,
The original Avengers, yeah. Supposedly.
will we care about the MCU?
Well, they may be back because now they're talking about an Avengers versus X-Men movie. That's the
Yeah,
new
I mean,
rumor.
okay.
So,
I mean,
So.
but will they recast him?
I don't know. Good
Just
question.
just because they're gonna will they recast them so they can recast the X-Men?
Well,
so they can do a whole new spin-off and sign all these no-name people to a small contract with a lot of movies. That way they're like,
You know what?
I don't think you can reboot the MCU at this point. Anyway. They've got too much invested right now.
You know what? They've recast James Bond how many times now?
yeah.
They can
Yeah.
do it.
Well, yeah, recasting's
Like I said-
fine, but
like I said,
rebooting.
Like I said, any
No, they haven't made enough
Any-
missteps that have angered fans
Yeah,
enough
like-
to merit a reboot.
any actor can step into any role. Just some are better than others, but anybody can step into a role and say,
Yeah.
go ahead and do your best impersonation of James Bond. You know, like go ahead and do your best Wolverine.
I don't know, it
You know,
didn't work
they're-
out for Timothy Dalton for 2 movies.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like they're gonna be able to pull it off. Maybe not as well as like Sean Connery or you know.
What about the rabid George Lazenby fans out there?
But they'll be able to. They'll be able to like. I bet they will at some point just say, "This isn't a different universe. Here's the new Thor. Here's the new."
Yeah, they
you know,
could. They
and
could
it's-
do that with any of the Infinities. Well, the what is it? The Dimension Stone, or not? Whatever it is, Reality Stone, I guess.
Yeah, like
the
I
multiverse.
can't
Yeah, they can
say
do the
that I'll
multiverse.
be
So they're gonna
too
go to the
keen on that,
Spider-Verse.
You know what I mean? Like I really like these guys who are playing these
Yeah.
characters. So it's like it's gonna be hard to try to see somebody else step in.
Sure. Yeah, you'd have to build it back up slowly again
Yeah.
if you did. One quick thought and one last impromptu quick fire question. Do you think we're going to see Photon in Endgame, or at least the appearance of the girl in that movie? Because time has now passed since the 90s. The little girl is now grown up. By the time we get to Endgame,
And that's the other funny thing too. She's supposed to be part of the Young Avengers. So
they are talking about doing that movie too. I've heard.
Yeah, then I think once that kicks in is when we're going to find out more about the other.
I just wonder if she'll make an appearance though, because
I would say no.
not in this movie.
Yeah, not this.
Not enough time.
Not
It's a
this
3 hour and 2 minute movie. They're saying.
Yeah, there's a lot to wrap
so
up.
So does she get the 2 minutes?
Well, she just show up.
She'll have an end credit scene.
Yeah.
end credits.
And then credit
maybe.
scene where she's in the bathroom throwing up.
All right. All right, guys. So we have come to the end of our podcast. But before we go, and before we give our final grades, real quick, where can you find For Midwest Guys all the rest of our stuff? The best place to go, the one-stop shop, is www.4midwestguys.com. On there is all of our podcasts are on there. They're on there chronologically. They're on there categorically. This one will be under Marvel reviews under categories. If you click on the links at the top, everything's there. Your one-stop shop. But other places to follow us, of course, is facebook.com/4midwestguys. You can get us on Stardust, as well as a Twitter @4midwestguys. We're on Instagram. Instagram's kind of like our little behind-the-scenes stuff. I haven't posted some stuff in a while, but I'll try to post some stuff. But you get a little behind-the-scenes actions of what goes on to our podcast, how we do it. Little things like that is all posted on there, and that is actually _Midwest_guys. And of course, you can email us as well at 4midwestguys@gmail.com. So those are lots of ways you can definitely get in touch with us. So, all right, guys, let's wrap this up real quick. John, final thought, final grade on Captain Marvel.
B plus. I thought it was fun. There were some parts tonally felt a little imbalanced, but overall it was a good fun movie. And again, something that if I got for those of us that have daughters, it's something we want our daughters to see. It's you know, not a bad iconic movie to look up to.
Yeah, Brian.
C minus.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't care for the movie all that. It was okay to watch the tie-ins.
Yeah.
And get a little bit of a backstory before we see her in Endgame. Like I went with my daughter, and she even didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah. She didn't care for it. I was like, okay. She's like, it was just dumb.
I remind her she said the same thing about Wall-E.
Her response was, where she goes, she wants a Black Widow movie.
Bad, yeah.
Like she's I want a Black Widow movie. She didn't want to. She wanted a Black Widow movie.
Now, see,
Because honestly, that's the problem. The MCU's dropped the ball on that.
Yeah.
they're finally doing it, but
They've dropped the ball. At this point, it should have been 7 years ago.
And they said that I think they said the villains rumored to be Taskmaster.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
But again, this should have happened like at least 5 or 7 years ago.
Oh yeah, and so Caitlin was just like,
But that might be an age thing, because I took Gabby and Gabby loved it. That's like her favorite superhero right now.
Well, that's,
in the MCU. But that's
Yeah.
probably an age thing, and I can see where your daughter being, she's 12, right?
she's 13.
13.
So
Wow. So
I'm gonna bring up a quote from how it should have ended for the Avengers: Infinity War, and my daughter loves to quote it. She's a teenager. She doesn't care about anything.
well,
when he's talking about Groot.
She's 13, so I can definitely see why she'd want a more grittier, hard action Black Widow movie.
Well, it's not even this. That is that she's grown up with.
Black Widow.
Because,
it's true.
she-
From Iron Man 2.
Yeah, so she's been there for all of these other movies, and she's seen them all, and then now she just gets this new Marvel. I mean, she didn't say it was horrible. She goes, it wasn't all that. Like she goes, then she had basically the same thing. Like it wasn't the best movie ever. It wasn't the worst. It was, mid to low range. But she goes, I wanted a Black Widow movie.
Honestly, I mean that's a lot of our '90s blockbusters too. So I think that fits. That's an appropriate assumption. It's like it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. It was Waterworld.
And that's it fits with my grade. I give it a solid B. Again, I like the tie-ins. I like the nostalgia. I like, there were things that didn't work. Like I didn't like the Nick Fury. I didn't, there was some misfires on some of the music. So it wasn't the worst. It wasn't in the low tier either, and it wasn't the best in the high tier. It's pretty much middle of the road. So I'm just gonna call it overall good.
Yeah.
So nice solid B. All right. Well, John, I want to thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Glad I was able to be back for this one.
Welcome back, and we wish Stephanie well, full recovery.
Yes.
She's having issues there, and
Yes,
we
she's,
wish her
gotta go
well. And
Get back to visiting my wife in the hospital, who graciously said, "Yes, go out, go do this, have fun."
and we thank you, Stephanie, for that. And do get better quickly. And Brian, as always, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure being here, man.
Absolutely. And this is B. Willie saying thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time, and we'll see you hopefully for Endgame. So see you later.